Fine. Okay, did it start? Yeah, okay, cool. So, welcome to the midterm review. The hint for the test is you're going to do great, so don't even worry about it. Like, study, but it's going to be fine.
Worry, but not that.
Yeah. So what we're going to do for this midterm review is we're going to talk really briefly what's on the test, what the 3 questions look like, what type of questions they are, and then we're going to do practice problems that are like similar to the test questions so that you guys will have a basis to go on for when you go into the test, okay? So what the midterm looks like, we talked about in class, it's 3 separate coding problems. There's no multiple choice. It's just 3 different, like it'll be like Python coding questions, basically. So we'll give you like a prompt, just like in the checkpoints, you give you a prompt and like a scenario, and you guys solve the problem. Same thing, just like that, okay? The first one is a really simple problem, just using arrays and like a for and an if loop. So it's just a really basic one. The first one is like, so you can do it. You guys can definitely all do the first one. So feel good after the first one. It'll ease you into it. Yeah.
And by arrays, that just means like lists and dictionaries?
Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Lists and dictionaries.
And you just should do how to run through them.
Yeah. To cycle through. And what you guys have done, like in the Uber example, you guys like, like you cycled through the dictionary and you like were able to like see if things match, that kind of thing. Number 2, yeah, so it's very similar to the Uber example. So just make sure that you understand all the code in the Uber example and what it's doing, while loops, error checking, that kind of stuff. And then the third one is just like chapter 7, you use like a CSV file, you'll pull it in and be able to like update a few different things and then export it to a new file. And we're going to go over practice of that one too. And it's 3 hours. You can use outside resources. But also keep in mind that because you only have 3 hours, if you don't know anything and you go into it and you just spend your whole time Googling, you might run out of time. / you'll be very stressed and very sad. So prepare so that you can Google certain things, but not everything, okay? Anything else about the midterm? Any questions about the midterm?
What's the time frame that it runs again?
3 hours. Oh, what's the time frame?
Like
So
days.
it opens up, it opens up midnight and 9, I think. So if you wanted to take it Thursday 1 in the morning, you can. And it closes Tuesday.
Yeah, and I believe the dates are also listed on My Educator.
Yeah, once it opens, it'll say like it's open for like 5 days. Try not to take it on general conference or anything.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend, guys. Because the spirituality, yeah, also that. I meant enjoying it spiritually. And just another reminder, once you open the My Educator assessment and you download it, your time will start, okay? So don't like pause and like go work on other stuff and go out with friends and come back and work on it, okay? Like you got 3 hours from when you sit down and do it. So prepare, get a glass of water, get some snacks. That's what I usually did, like in the junior core when I take tests. I'd like get a snack to make me feel happy. It's like just like to make it seem more casual so I didn't psych myself out. Be like, I'm just chilling, Do whatever you want. That's just me. Grab your favorite drink, whatever. Okay, so no more questions about that? Cool. Yeah, things to know. This is basically all the stuff. If I had to sum it up in one thing, I would say chapter 5 checkpoint and chapter 7 checkpoint. Those are all things you need to know. So just knowing it and understanding it, being able to type it. Again, you don't have to memorize the syntax perfectly, because if you forgot, you're like, do I use a colon there or not? You can Google that, or you can look back at past projects, or you can even look back at checkpoint 5. So know the syntax well enough to be familiar, but it's okay if you forget, like double check. You can go back and see like where to indent stuff, where to put colons, that's okay. But yeah, just know these things, different kinds of loops. Really, anytime it asks for error checking, I don't want to make a blanket statement, but basically anytime there's ever asking for error checking, just use a while loop. It's a really good thing to remember. Okay, questions about anything? No. Okay, cool. So Ethan's gonna run you guys through some helpful loop practices. Practice side.
All right. So, for the most part, the things that are covered in these are pretty they're just going to cover some of the general basics when it comes to loops. If any of you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, stop me. So we'll start with, I guess, the first one. Can anybody answer this first one? What kind of loop am I? Keeps running until the user enters the right password. Well, do until could work, but yeah, a while loop was what we were thinking. loop through all items in a list of ice cream flavors and print out each flavor as it loops through. What would you use? For loop. Yeah. And why would you use a for loop?
If you want to do only for these sets of variables, so like for every flavor, example, and then it'll like print through and go to the next flavor and the next, etc.
Yeah, so it works through each line item in that list or dictionary or whatever you're working your way through. Great. Then last but not least, checks to see if a user is in the database, and if they are, validate them and let them into the program. If. Can you explain a little bit?
Like an if statement, I guess like it could be like an if loop, like for if this parameter is seen, then do this. If not, then just go to the next line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. That's a good explanation. Are there any other ideas or anything else like that? Anything anybody else wants to just add?
No, I would just add checking users in database. You can have like a dictionary of usernames and passwords. So kind of like you did like your Uber example. You like use a for loop also loop through. I just wanted you guys to be able to connect. Like you can use dictionaries for usernames and passwords. And like if someone were to ask you to like validate a user in the database, you wouldn't freak out. To be like, nah, man. Like I know dictionaries and I know how to cycle through because I did it in the Uber example. So if it's nice to ask you that, don't freak out. You can do it. That's what I wanted to do.
Awesome. So I guess for the most part, I'm assuming everybody's done checkpoint 5 and checkpoint 7 for the most part. So again, as Sierra said, the great thing to do is just keep going through those in practice and get familiar with those homework assignments, because those are great practices for these loops and what the exam expects you to know about loops. So, do you think it'd be worthwhile? Yeah, I think that it's all good. So, Sam, go ahead. We'll go to the more advanced practice.
All right. So, let's see.
I'm gonna open up a blank Google Colab. It's going.
How did you do that? Okay, interesting.
I hope it recorded.
Huh. Alright, so the thing is, so Blitz and Tips is an arcade type place. So you go there and at the end of the day, you're like, I have all these tickets, and you're going to be separated into 3 groups. So you have the greatest, mild, and terrible. So if you have above 400, you're deemed like, okay, you get the greatest, and you get to pick one of the prizes from the greatest tier. Mild is less than 400, but greater than 250. So what the machine has done is I've already gathered all the tickets, and now I have this giant list. So your job now is to take these tickets and separate them into 3 lists: greatest, mild, and terrible. So what I want you guys to do is just go on and open Colab and just kind of type that out. Or you don't even have to have 3 just to prove the concept. You can just do a list with 500, 300, and 100, and that should prove the point as well. Whoa. Oh, people are editing on this. Wow. Okay. Interesting. That's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ethan. What are you doing? Okay, you're good. Yeah, so how would you guys get started with this?
I would just do like 3 conditionals, like if the item in the list is like just like that, the greatest, mild, or terrible, like those conditionals, and then just append it to a new list, and then you just cast 3 lists beforehand.
Cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I would highly recommend just like going through this problem and doing it yourself, and then in the test say like if this comes in handy, who knows. Yeah. There we go.
Sorry.
Alright, so does anyone how much time do you think we need on this?
Let me pull up what that has in the actual thing.
You're saying that this list will be compiled with their phone numbers?
No, so like, just for the purposes, like, it's not a bulletproof example, just
Okay.
because, yeah, so I just want that original list, which is now gone.
Control T.
Yeah, he deleted the list. Okay, so I want you to take the original list and separate it into 3 lists. So,
And let me pull up mine. I think I have it.
Yeah, and then we'll go over the correct answers, you guys can.
there you go. It should be there. If you refresh, it should be there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys finish that first one, you can start working on the second one if you want,
Yeah.
which will also be. The second one's more robust.
Yeah, the second one's definitely more. Alright. New.
Alright, so this is how I went about doing it. Okay, so, and let's see, when we press play, what the heck happens? Okay, so the way I went about doing this was I just made 3 empty lists, and then for IN tickets, so first thing I did is instantiate a for loop, and what I will do in tickets is it's just going to go through and however many items there are in the list of tickets, it'll do the following. So if it's less than 250, it's going to append to terrible, mild, greatest, and just print them out. So that one's pretty easy, and that one should take you on the test maybe 5 minutes to do.
I just need however it's okay.
Yes, you have 3 hours. Do you have any questions on this one before we move on to the more robust one? Cool. Okay, so this one is kind of like an immigration thing. So I have it as the Citadel of Ricks. Everyone, they're trying to make sure there are 4 categories of people. There are Ricks, Mortys, unhuman Mortys, evil Ricks, and evil Mortys. So what I want to do is like pretend this is like an immigration thing where somebody walks in and I'm like, all right, just type in like, are you one of these 4 categories? And you guys can change this up to however you want. But what the situation is this little database, this dictionary is the stuff from the previous days. So every time somebody types in another person, so say I'm a Morty, I come in, I say, oh, I'm a Morty, then I'm just going to type in Morty, and while it'll be in a while loop, so it'll just keep going until somebody says, are you the last person in the line? And if you are the last person in the line, you say yes, and then that'll end it and it'll stop, right? So what I want you guys to do is so first we're gonna get a while loop going, and within the while loop, we want just a question to keep popping up like, all right, what type of person are you? And then as you go say, oh, I'm a Rick, then it'll just go through and behind the scenes, put 145 plus 1, so 146. Does that make sense? Does anyone have questions on this?
And then so it will just say like, are you a person or are you the last person?
Yeah, so it'll just say like, enter like, are you Morty, Rick, whatever. So I enter Morty and it'll say, okay, is there anyone behind you? And if you say, yes, there's somebody behind you, I want the loop to keep going.
Oh, okay. And I know.
Yeah, and then the last person through the line at 5 o'clock will say, oh, there's nobody behind me. No, and it'll cut off and stop my program. Yeah. So also, if any of you need help, just let us know. There's 3 of us, so. So I'm just gonna start doing this slowly, so if y'all get stuck, you can just kind of like look up what I'm doing. So on the midterm as well, we're not expecting this thing to be bulletproof. So that means like you don't have to go through and like make sure it's like alpha and make sure it's matching all these things. Like we understand you guys are in a time crunch, so we're not going to intentionally try and break your program. So just know like if you're thinking, oh, I could do this like overkill style and like, make sure that I know I put it through lowercase and then put it through all these other tests. Like we're just gonna test like type it in directly as we see it in your dictionary. So we're not gonna try and like destroy your program.
Google Colab remembers. Wow, that's pretty cool.
You might scroll that up a little bit.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is kind of making sense, like you guys remember this, like it's very similar to how I think you would assign your Uber example, the ones that I created.
Yeah. If type RC. I guess to make it clear, I'll do if I. Yeah, it makes more sense that way. Oh, yeah, I'm working on. I know, right? Well, you did one a while ago. I think I saw one. Yeah.
That's just because this is the first word that comes to my head.
I said the Fab Four, and people are like, "Who the Fab Four?" I'm like, obviously, it's the greatest musicians of all time. No.
Boy, you eventually.
No. Shit. Okay, that's fine. Okay, good stuff. Let's see, how did I do that?
Don't forget when you get errors, so everyone kind of understand, like when you get errors, like if you scroll all the way down to like the error where it says at the bottom, like type error, that's like the original error. Makes sense, everyone? You can like Google those error messages too, and Stack Overflow, you can find some answers.
Oh, and here we go.
Yeah, usually it's a really little thing. Yeah, you should have a little thing.
Ooh, nope. Is it?
What is the type RC?
Type Rick or Morty. I mean,
Oh, yeah, but like, I mean,
I should do an RM. You're
what
right.
is it, type equal type RC?
Where?
For the if I equals equal.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, if I is like, type RC. Where's that variable coming from? Like, oh wait, that's an input, never mind, sorry.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Don't apologize for questions. You're okay.
That makes sense.
That should have worked. Oh wait, nope. Hmm.
That was copying and pasting.
Yeah. But that's like, that should be it. Oh, I already had it copied.
I wonder why the other one didn't work. Oh well. Alright. So, did everyone's work? Okay. So we can go. Or do you have any questions about anything in particular up here?
Yeah, so the I inside the brackets,
Mm-hmm.
is that referring to like the key or the value?
Yeah, so it's key value, right? I think.
Yeah.
So what this does is, so I'm gonna print something off right here, just so print, if I print off known RC, if I do this, what is gonna pop out of that? Yeah, so what this is doing is, so what I does is it goes and plugs itself into like each of these like keys, right? So I becomes first Rick and then Morty and then unhuman Rick, and it goes through that way. So what happens is for the first one it'll say for, in this case, so this is just going through like a counter, and then it'll say if I, so I in the first instance is going to be Rick. So if Rick equals type RC, which is my input, so it's going to say, all right, is Rick equal to what they just put in there? And then if it says yes, so it's like, all right, so yeah, it is Rick, so it'll then say known RC Rick, just like that, and then I'm assigning it the value of itself plus 1. Does that make any sense at all?
Why did you do the +1?
So it's because I want it like counting up, right? So I have one, so from the past month, let's say I've had 145 Ricks come in, and I just got another Rick. So what do I want to do to 145?
So you want to increase the value.
Yeah, so I want 145 to now become 146. So the way I do that is by saying, all right, so whatever value of Rick is, I'm going to make it the value of itself plus 1. And that's how I'm accounting for it.
Right. Okay. And then for G, what is the G represent?
The G is just another random variable. You can like X, Y, from like this Y or whatever. So this is just again going through and iterating like, all right, for whatever variable is in known RC. So what this G is going to do is, so this statement is just going to say, all right, how many items are in known RC? And it's going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to say, all right, I'm going to iterate it 6 times. And through those 6 times, this G is going to become Rick, Morty, unhuman Morty, right? So what this is going to do is it's going to print, so the first G, what is it going to print the first time around?
Rick.
Rick, right? And what is this going to print off?
The value.
Correct. So then when it goes again, G becomes Morty, and then Morty's value.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so then at the end of it, it'll print off like this. So it'll say, okay, I got 146 Ricks, 134 Mortys, and so forth until it reaches the end. So this little for statement is actually really nifty because it's able to go in and see how many things are in the list or dictionary, and then like replace itself as whatever variables are in the key or value of the list.
And one other note on that, like those I's and G's, those are just temporary variables.
Yeah.
So like this like known RC, like that's a forever thing, right? So it's outside of the loop, but that like for I known RC, for G and known RC, those are just temporary. So you can't like access I outside of that loop. It only lives for the loop and then it dies.
Yeah.
So it's just a pretend temporary thing and then it dies after the loop. So it's only there.
Yeah, so right there, like it works as well. Like I did another letter just for clarity, just so that when you're looking back, you can tell, okay, I is the counter within this for loop, but you can say X every time. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions about what's going on underneath the hood? Yeah.
Where do brakes fit into this?
So brakes, so there are a couple of ways of, and Ethan's better doing brakes than I am, but like, so in the while, you can do a brake to make it stop and ask something. So for example, I could maybe put this input, I could put it below a brake. During a while loop, if I put a brake in the while loop, it'll say, all right, do all of this, and then it's like, oh, brake, I need to do something. And then after you've typed in an input variable, you hit enter and it'll resume the while loop. Right, Ethan? Yeah.
Yeah, and the break is also a way too that if you're in a nested loop, so there's multiple loops going on, a break gets you out of all of them immediately. So if you're in it somehow, and I mean, most coders don't prefer to use the break because it's hard to read, but the break will allow you, if you're in the middle of a loop and you just want to get out, if they meet some certain condition,
Like
just put in break and it pulls you all the way out of all the loops.
Yeah. Yes.
So when you're reading the question, what directions make you know what you have to do?
Okay, so that's a really good question.
That's a good question. That takes practice too.
Yeah. So I would say is there are a few buzzwords like, so we can tell right here, like, all right, so there's 4 apparent categories, right? So that's like, okay, so that might be either a dictionary or a list, right? And then when it says every time a new Rick or Morty arrives, they enter their own type and they are counted as a new type of Rick or Morty, right? So what that says to me is like, okay, so that means that there's 4 types of people and we're counting these 4 types of people, right? So we want like an associated number with each of these 4 types. So what's something that we know, like could I do this with a list, for example? No, because you need that associated number. So what would we end up having? We'd have to use a dictionary, yeah. So like if I just saw like, oh, I need a list of, so for example, this one, like I see that there's no associated value, so I'm gonna think, okay, I just need a list. Yeah.
When it says enter there, that's a really good clue for an input statement, right? Like someone's entering something, like someone outside your program has an input statement.
Yeah, and it was for something to say, oh, and for the process to keep going, that's a pretty good indication of a while loop. So you kind of think in your head like, you know, if I want an infinite loop to keep going until I specify change, you can't really do that with a for loop because you can say for, you know, 100 times or for 150 times. Those are very finite numbers. Or like another buzzword is if you say like a password, you know, while it's wrong, just keep asking them, you know, hey, that was wrong. Like it's not like a password you're gonna say, oh, I entered it wrong, and after 3 times it's gonna say, geez, like I give up, just kind of keep going, you know. So that's one good way of it. But yeah, anytime it says ask the user, that's an input. Anytime it says like print or output or display, that's going to be some sort of print statement. And then going up to this one.
I would say another thing too, if it says like, if the user enters something wrong, ask them again. It might be confusing to say, oh, if, like that's an if statement. No, because what do we talk about? Error checking? What do we use? For error checking? While loop.
While loop, yeah.
Yeah. So just like remember that. So like
Yeah.
even if it's like so in your Uber example, if the user entered something wrong, but you want to ask them again, while loop, right? If the user enters their password wrong, but you want to ask them again, while password was false. So just like even though there's an if in there, just think while loop for error checking.
Yeah. So other things, this one, like there are 3 categories of winners. I'd be like, all right, so they want 3 separate somethings of, in this case, greatest, mild, and terrible. So I'm like, okay. So in my mind, I know that there's going to be, you know, so they're going to give me something and it needs to be separated out into 3 bins. I need more information to determine if it's a dictionary or a list. And in this case, they say, oh, greatest is just above this, mild is this, and terrible is this. And I'm like, okay, so all I have to do is sort them out. Take one list and sort it out into 3 lists based off of an if statement. Yeah, and this just comes with practice, like, but we try to make it fairly explicit.
Yeah.
We do things. Yeah, or if all else fails, something that helps me is just imagine in your mind what this little box is supposed to look like. So in this case, so we'll press play, and the first thing that says is, okay, in the directions it says ask them what type of like person they are. So in my mind I'm saying, okay, how am I going to create it to say, you know, are you a Rick on human Rick, and what am I going to do with this, you know? So if I say, all right, I'm a Morty, okay, and then I'll say, I want another box to pop up and say, are you the last person in line? Right, and if I say no, what's going to happen? If I say yes, what's going to happen? So in this case, if I say no, it's just going to keep going. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, that means there's probably a while loop in there.
So, my question is on the dictionary, the if statement, the if I is equal to type RC, or the input, how does it, how are you telling it to go to that, like, spot where you get that number? Because
Which
it's
one?
saying to go to a place where, I guess, the input value is true, like Rick or Morty or that kind of thing, and then it just automatically knows that's grabbing that number.
Yeah.
So, like editing that number.
So how did I tell it to grab like the value of this key?
Yeah, does by telling it just to go that key and saying that key plus 1, it just knows how to do it, how to function?
So
Okay.
this one's pretty like hard coded. I mean, you could there's probably a function where you say like, you know, no narc, and then do something else. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's just simple enough, and it makes sense to say, all right, you know, but say for example, I were saying, oh, there's a truckload of Mortys. How many Mortys are there? And you say, oh, there's 17 Mortys. Then what I would do in that case is I'd say, like number of Mortys equals to the input. So I'd have an input saying how many Mortys arrived. And then instead of plus 1, I'd say like that input. Does that make sense?
It just knows wherever you're grabbing a key from dictionary, it's grabbing that value for that key.
Correct.
Yeah, every time.
Every time.
Anytime you got little square brackets and you put something in there, it's grabbing the value.
Yeah, and when you guys are error checking initially, something to keep in mind, because I messed up on this, is if you type Rick lowercase, nothing's going to happen, because it's going to say, oh, like, is lowercase Rick equal to uppercase Rick? And it's going to say, no, it's not. So this one you'll have to be fairly careful with that. But yeah, I would know, if you understand how this all works and are able to put in other implementations, this is like something very important, I'll just say.
Sorry. Yeah. Obviously, because it's not Rick and Morty, but it's similar concepts.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more professional, but it's a lot, like, I would say if, like, understand exactly what's going on here, like what math this is doing, what this is doing. So basically this for loop, yeah, I know what this is doing. Does anyone have any questions at all with this? Or how you'd add other things? Because if not, I'll just hand it off to Sierra and she'll do the last little guy.
Yeah, and if you guys are tired and want to go home, that's okay. I'll tell you that there are some fun memes in store, so if that entices you, but you can also
Oh yeah.
Like taking the list and then re-uploading it. The re-upload part, like how you put it back in to CSV, was giving me last night. Like I got it to work, but I kind of want to see your method.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like what other functions can
Speaking of
use.
those, I was looking at chapter 7 and a lot we're doing like to their specific Google Drives and not like actual output they can.
Oh yeah, I just did mine to Google Drive too, but then you can download it from Google Drive. Like it's
Oh
fine.
no, not
Yeah.
that part.
Oh.
I mean like
Yeah.
when you take a column, like a list of a column value, and
Uh-huh.
then you're editing it
Oh,
as
editing.
a list, and then you're trying to put it back
Gotcha.
in. That I kind of want to
It's
see
right
what
here.
you guys do for that.
I made one like it because Hint, hint, that's on the test. Also, this is very, like, all the concepts covered in here are also on the test. And it's not much more safe. So, like, since we just went over this in class, it's not very robust. It's really easy. It's basically like checkpoint 7 that you guys just did, okay? So, I'm sorry I don't have the file for you guys, so we can just look at it up here if that's okay. So basically, it'll give you something like, it'll give you some instructions of like things you need to do. I wrote this one, it's very easy, I promise. So you just import a file, so you know how to import a file, okay? So we'll give you the file and you'll import it. Remember that when you're importing from Google Drive, since you're using Google Colab, you need to first mount, right?
Yeah, the easiest way to do that is just sort of click on the little left arrow. So yeah, click on that and then go to Files. Once it connects, there's a little button that says Mount Drive.
Mount
Click on
Drive.
that, it spits out the code and you just hit enter.
So you don't even have to type this, you press this and it pops up.
Yeah, so that's the best way to do it. I mean, unless you like manual things.
Yeah, so you press that or you can type it in, whatever you feel comfortable with. So you mount your drive, then you're going to import, we talked about libraries, right? You're just going to import this library so that you're able to use pandas. It allows you to do lots of cool stuff to manipulate the data. And then you're going to upload your file. You're going to read it into this environment. Someone asked me, why do we put them into a data frame? You can think of a data frame just like a variable type. So like pandas, like this thing that we're working with here, it doesn't understand what a CSV file is. And so when you make it a data frame, it knows how to index the columns. It sets it up so you can access columns, so you can edit rows. That's all that making it a data frame does. Okay, so this line is basically just like making it something that it can understand. Okay, so that's what that means. And then we say, so we're going to drop a column. All you do for drop columns is df. So df is whatever I called. So I could have called this videos. I could have called this CSV file, right? This is just my variable name. So since I'm dropping something from that data frame, I'm going to say name of variable. In this case, it was df for data frame, dot drop, and then parentheses, brackets, column name, okay? I mean, I think the biggest things you can mess up on this are just typing in the wrong column name, making it capital or not. Like, it's just like really particular, right? Because there's only one column name. Questions about dropping columns? df.drop, drop it. Here's some, and then, so here's something. What I said was a thing I said, so we need to make a new column that has, so this, sorry, that was terrible of me. I'm just trying to go fast. This is a data set of TED Talks and their comments and their views, okay? So I wanted to see what the ratio of views to comments was. I was curious. I was like, I wonder how many views to each comment. So how do we do that? So we're going to do math with these things. Basically, when you're asked to do math with two columns, make a list of both the columns individually, okay? So first, I'm going to do likes to, oh, sorry. This one is likes to dislikes, not views to comments. I'm sorry. Likes to dislikes. So I'm going to say, I wonder how many likes there are to dislikes. So there, I'm going to make a list, just like a normal list of likes. Likes are the columns. So I'm going to make a list of everything in the column in the file. Does that make sense? And then I need my dislikes too. So I'm going to make a dislikes list. And that's going to grab, so I say df dislikes. This is saying which column name do you want me to make a list out of? And this is saying which column do you want me to make a list out of? Is that I want one of likes. And then I want one of dislikes. Okay? And then I want a whole nother list that just has the values of likes divided by dislikes. Okay, I just want a whole separate list that's just going to have all those values straight down as well. Okay, because I'm going to want to have a list that I can put back into the data frame, which is what you were talking about. Okay, so whenever you're saying like, okay, I want a new calculated column, just make separate lists. One for each column that you're working with, and then one for your new column. Okay, does that all make sense? Okay, then we're going to loop through the list, okay, and we're going to put stuff in our empty list, likes to dislikes. We're going to calculate something, and we're going to put it in here, okay? I don't think you guys have done a while loop. Have you guys done one that it's about length? I don't know if you guys have done this in length. I don't think so, but That's okay. We're gonna do it right now. So now I'm gonna say I could have said likes too. I'm gonna say, okay, so I know that my likes, my dislikes, and my likes to dislikes, these are all separate columns, you can think of them. They're all gonna be the same length, right? Because they're all just gonna be in the, so like my likes and dislikes are the same because they're in the columns. They all have the same amount of values. And then my likes to dislikes is just that divided by that, and that gives one value, so it's gonna be the same length. Does that make sense? It's just like they're all the same length. So because of that, I can say like, well, I wanna do this calculation for as many as there are, for as many rows as there are, right? And so since I made it into a list, how many rows there are is equivalent to the length of that list, right? Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to run this for the length of the likes list. So I'm going to say while I just made this random variable, while I is less than the length of likes, do something. Just because I wanted to do it for like however many there are. Okay, so I'm going to say likes to dislikes, which is this empty list that I have, and I'm going to put the values in. So while it's less than this, likes to dislikes, dot append, right? I'm going to add something onto it, dot append, and then you put the value inside of it. So in this case, my value is an equation, right? Because my value is the likes divided by dislikes. So I say likes, bracket I, because I want, in this case, the first one, right? Because it's the first time the loop goes through, divided by dislikes, bracket I, so that's the first one. And then I'm going to increase, sorry, that was a rude way to do it. I equals I plus 1. And then I'm going to make I 1, and now it's not 0. So now I go through again, and now it's like, okay, the second spot, likes, divided by the second spot, dislikes. Put that in the second spot of likes, dislikes. And it's like, okay, now I equals 2, so the third spot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, why don't you do the 2?
Oh yeah, so this is great. So maybe on the midterm it's like, hey, I want this value rounded to the nearest whole number. And you're like, I guess I could use like a round function, or I Google it. Well, let me tell you folks, I actually learned this. It makes it the rounded to the nearest whole number. So 1 slash will be just division, 2 slashes rounds it to the nearest whole number. And I did not know that. And I learned it while making the midterm. I was very excited to learn this. So now you know this. So it saves you a heck of time, because all you gotta do is 2 slashes. So that's my life hack. Yeah, pretty cool life hack. Questions about that? So it's just looping through the length, and you got 3 separate lists. You're doing a calculation, throwing it onto the empty one. Yeah? Good. You guys are smart. Okay, so then this is the part that you were asking about. And you're saying like, okay, well now I have this list of all the values, but how the freak am I supposed to get it back into the CSV? Allow me to show you. It is very simple. You'll see I only have 2 lines here. And this one isn't even needed. That's just a print statement. So.
Oh, that just prints itself? You just type the data frame and it'll print?
Yeah, that's another thing that people ask about. You can just type like DF and it will print all of them. If you just say like print DF, it'll only print certain columns. I don't really know why. Forget the print, just type out the name. So all you have to do to insert stuff in is you say DF or whatever the name of your data is. So data df.insert, and you're going to tell it where. So it's just kind of it's the same thing as 0 base, so it's like indexes. So like it's like first column, second, so it's like the first column is 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I was like, just to make this easy on myself, I want it to be the first thing in the column. So it's the one that I cared about the most. I want to see it first, okay? So if it's the first one, is it index 1 or index 0? Yeah, index 0, right? Because 0 base. So I'm like, I want it to be the first thing, index 0. So df.insert, and it's like, where do you want me to insert? And you're like, index 0, please. I'm like, okay, what do you want me to insert there? And you say, well, I would like to insert this likes to dislikes list. And I'm going to also call it likes to dislikes. What do you want to call it? Great. What do you want in it? This list. Okay? Questions about that? It's really easy. You just say df.insert, where, what you call it, what you're going to put there. Okay. And then, you guys know how to do this. Put it into a new CSV file, call it something different, modified, and that's the end. Questions about that? I think you guys know how to do this. Yeah, if you have questions, that's okay, but like, I feel like you guys are gonna be great at this. Yeah.
Is there a shorter way than like, say you're taking a column and then
Yeah.
editing it
Mhm.
and then bring it back in? You could do an insert and then drop the old column.
Yeah.
Or is there like a way to kind of just tell it to override this column in one line?
What you could do is say like column, so you like scrub the column, you change the column in whatever way, and then you say like, so new column equals whatever you did, like change out the names, and then you just say column equals new column, and you just replace it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, but you won't need to, it's good to know. This is all you'll need to do on the midterm. Yeah, so yeah, just an important thing to remember is like you're doing calculations, you're gonna make 3 separate lists, you're gonna have a while loop, and you're gonna do your calculations. Double slash means round to nearest whole number, and then make a new file. And you guys totally got it, okay? All right. Let's go through the end. This is the end. It just really makes me so sad. Okay.
So these,
Yeah.
notebooks that you guys have been using to show us, are they going to be shared on?
Yeah, we'll put them up there. Okay, this is the end. You've made it. Now for some memes. When you try to look at the code you wrote a month ago, I wish I can't read it. The point of this meme, all my memes have points. I swear, I'm not trying to waste your time. Okay, so the point of this meme is, just because you turned in the checkpoint doesn't mean you understand what the code is doing, okay? So make sure that you know what the code is doing. Make sure that you understand why you used that loop there and why you used an if statement there and what part of the prompt made you do that, okay? Make sure you understand what you've been turning in and getting great points on, okay? Second one, this sweet old farmer. It ain't much, but it's honest work. This is both to remind you to know enough that you don't have to Google all the time and to not be afraid to use Google because you can. So it's a reminder that you can Google and you can use checkpoints, but don't rely too much on it, okay? So what a sweet old man to remind you. Yeah. You can use the internet agents, yeah. This one, he looks very stressed and so sad. I think his eye is bleeding. I don't know what movie this is from, but it was all because of missing colons. You guys don't use it. Maybe it was because of a missing parenthesis or a missing colon. So this is just remember, if you're freaking, just like go through the little things, make sure your syntax is right. So that's where you could like look back at past projects, right? And be like, it's a for loop, like where does it have a colon, where does it have a parenthesis, that kind of stuff. So you don't end up like this sad man. And then this is also kind of sad. This is to remind you that God knows everything. And if you get like pray before your test, whatever you need to do to chill out, God will help you. And also to remind you that God loves everyone, including you, and that this test does not define you. It's important, it's good for your grade, but it doesn't like determine who you are. Also, this is my plug to finish the test before General Conference. You may enjoy it with full spirituality and get all of your questions answered, okay? You guys are going to do super great. Like, I'm not even worried. I'm going to be so excited to grade them. It's going to be like 100 points. It's going to be so easy for me to grade. So that's that. So thank you, and good luck on the test.